this is the story of how I pretty much lost what lost my family, but not really in a sense. I lost our connection that I had with them, and this was the event that pretty much ended it all for any type of family gatherings that we'll ever have. So I was 15, so I was a sophomore. Yes, I was a sophomore in high school, and this was, of course, the best holiday to have this occur was Thanksgiving, and I wanted to like celebrate with my family, and my family from my dad's side, which is my aunt, my two cousins, and my grandma, of course. So my dad made a reservation at this really fancy, amazing San Francisco restaurant because my grandma lives up north in the Bay Area. So we thought, it'll be a really fun, special night if my dad flew me, my sister, and my mom over to San Francisco, and we stay a night there in the hotel, and we spent Thanksgiving and Black Friday with them. So I'm really excited. We're leaving the San Francisco airport once we land, and then my dad picks us up in this big like black van. It's a rent-a-car, and I just specifically remember like listening to the One Direction Midnight Memories album, and I'm just like listening and like feeling the vibe. I felt so cool. And then my dad gets a text from my cousin, and I have two cousins, Michael and Faith Ann, and they're both older. They were like in their 30s at the time, and right now they're in their late 30s. So growing up with the really two older cousins wasn't the best and wasn't the greatest, just because they had lives, so I rarely saw them, and the times like I would see them, like I'm so young and like they're adulting and they're living their life, so there was not a lot of connection that I established with them, but I still loved them and I still wanted to see them. And so my dad got a text from Michael saying that him and his mother, who's my aunt, got in a huge argument that morning and that he wasn't coming to Thanksgiving dinner. And I stopped listening to my music and I was like, Dad, please text him back, like begging him because I want to see him. Like I haven't seen him in years. I haven't seen him, I think, like 4 years or something like that. So my dad texts him like, hey, I am Momo, which is my sister, wants to see you. I really think that you should come out, like regardless of the fight that you had with your mother, like blah blah blah. And so we still didn't really know if he was gonna come. That was just kind of a question up in the air. So whatever, like we get to the hotel, and when it's time for dinner, I remember getting ready, getting all cute and dressed up, and we get a taxi and we go to this very nice restaurant. We walk in, it's around like 6 p.m, so it's already dark, and like glass window, you walk in, it's like super dim, pretty much like the only lighting there are the candle lights around. And I just remember walking in, there was like a huge counter full of like flowers, just like flower baskets and bouquets, just like chilling right there. It was gorgeous. And the bar was magnificent. It was just like a rustic bourbon colored, I don't know how you call it, like the cellars that has all the alcohol up there. I was really, really mesmerized. So I'm walking, or the waiter is walking us to our table, and there's a total of 7 of us, right? Yeah, 7, excluding Michael. So we are walking towards the back of the restaurant, and you know, they had like the private rooms for big parties and or special parties. So we were able to reserve one of those rooms, and wow, I never felt so prestigious in my life. Everything about it was so ostentatious, and I was so excited. And it was like super dark, but it was just gorgeous and so romantic. So we get this room, and it's literally like a private small room with a long table, long vertical table, or horizontal, I don't know. One of those like long dining tables. And I specifically remember I was sitting closest to the little exit, half across from the bathroom, and just closest to the door. So I was sitting like in the corner of the right side of the table, and my mom was sitting across from me, and there was a open seat in the top part of the table. So that spot was supposed to be for Michael, but we didn't know Michael was showing up. And then we go into appetizers, and I specifically remember eating caviar, so good. And we're just enjoying our time. And then out of nowhere, Michael just comes in, walks in, and he's like, "What's up, guys? Like, what up? Like, bitches?" Like, you could just tell he had a couple drinks. And I was really excited, but a little part of me, I remember, I was kind of scared at first. I kind of felt something was up, that something was off. And he was like saying hi to everybody, but then I saw my aunt, and my aunt did not look happy. She looked really salty. And my aunt was sitting like all the way across from the other table, across from my sister. And so they would be far apart from each other. So Michael sat like right across from me, so like he sat right here and I sat right here, and I was like in the corner of the table. I was even sitting across from the other side. And I remember just being fine, like talking to him, and I don't know how it happened. It was just so quick. But I remember just talking to him, and they kept on saying snarky remarks like, "Gosh, like, you're so annoying." And then at first I'm like, okay, this is just like him just being Michael and being friendly. And then what triggered me, like, let me remind you, I'm 15, and I'm still in that awkward phase where I'm still kind of developing, and I'm an angsty teenager, and emotions are all around. And I obviously, as a teenager, when your cousin tells you that you're ugly and that you're annoying and that you should shut up, I'm gonna get hurt. Yeah, I don't know what I said, but he retaliated back with, "God, you're so annoying. God, like, you're ugly." He said those things. He couldn't even look at me in the eyes, and he said those things. And I knew he was drunk, but even as a 15-year-old, I never really witnessed somebody drunk or somebody who's under the influence or anything. Like, I was not familiar with that type of behavior that people show when they are intoxicated. So I remember when he said that, he said it twice, because the first time I remember I just stopped there, and I looked around the table and I was like, did anybody else hear that but me? And apparently no one did. And then the second time he said it, I had my napkin on my lap, and I got up and took the napkin and I said, I'm done, and I slammed the napkin down and I like ran to the bathroom, and I was just crying and crying, and I didn't know what to do, because like, what? That was my cousin who I grew up with, who I know would never say something like that, and then he he says those things to me, and I don't know what to do. And then my mom comes into the bathroom. She's like, what are you doing? Like, are you okay? And I start crying to her, and she's confused. She's like, I didn't know that happened. Like, I didn't hear it. And I'm like, no one heard it. And I was crying to her, and I just like didn't know what to do. And I was like, I don't want to sit next to him. Like, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I couldn't focus. Like, all I knew is I needed to get away from him. And I calmed down a little bit. And so when I walked back into the room, I immediately went to my sister. My sister was sitting on the other side of the table, and I asked her if we can switch seats, and she said yes. So we switched seats, and I specifically remember Michael, when Momo sat down, he's like, oh, hey, what's up, Momo? Like, Jesus, like, I love you, Momo. And I was so frustrated. Like, he didn't even remember. He didn't even fucking remember that I was sitting there. And yeah, I was sitting in my seat, and I was really upset, and I was telling my dad what happened. And then my aunt asked me what happened, and I said, like, your son literally just called me ugly and annoying, and I cried to the bathroom just a second ago. And then she felt really bad, because she's like, she's like, I'm so sorry, you know that he's only drunk and acting like this because he's upset with me. And she kept on saying, like, it's okay, it's not your fault, it's honestly my fault, and I'm really sorry, I'm sorry. And I'm like, it's fine, it's whatever. My aunt, a little note of my aunt, my dad and my aunt don't get along, and even her kids don't really get along with her. We just know that there's something mentally wrong with her. She has some kind of, I don't know what you call it. My dad thinks she's bipolar, and her kids definitely think that there is something wrong with her. She's like not the best person to be around. She thinks she's really entitled to a lot of things. She's like one of the family members that everybody has, where you're like when you always want to avoid during family functions. But she wasn't. But during this Thanksgiving, like, she was not a problem. Her son was. So halfway through, like, entree, oh yes, the waiters, because it's a very bougie fancy restaurant, they remember specifically your seat, so they give you your meal like in order from the seat that you were sitting in. So one of the waiters was handing my food to my sister, because that's where I was originally seated, and I felt really embarrassed. I was like, hey, I'm sorry, we switched seats. And they're like, oh, that's not a problem. But I was really embarrassed, like I caused that inconvenience. And then right after that, something happened. I don't know who said what, but then Michael got up from his seat and like looked at me. He's like, did I call you ugly? Did I call you annoying? And I'm like, I'm shocked that he didn't remember saying that. And I was so stunned. I felt paralyzed, and I tears were falling down, and then I looked down and I'm like, yeah, and I kept on looking down, and I started crying, like subtle cries. And then he's like, I never said that to you, and started saying like, oh my god, like acting like a fucking fool. And my aunt, wow, my aunt immediately turns against me, and she goes, oh, so you lied? And I said, no, I didn't. Why would I lie about something like that? And she interrupts me and she goes, you know, you should save this dramatic act for your acting class. Like, we don't need this right now. I can't believe you're lying. Save it for your acting class. And it was like my cousin and my aunt just kissed and made up at that exact moment, and started retaliating on me. And I'm like, whoa, what? Like, you were you were just on my side. Like, you literally said it was okay. Like, you were sorry that he was acting like this, and then now you don't believe me, and you believe your son who you just been fighting with. Oh my. It was like double daggered my heart, because so many shocks going on. And my dad obviously believed me, and my dad knows how much Michael can be an ass. And my dad started defending me, but shit got wild. He started badgering my aunt, and it was just like a roast battle back and forth. But my dad clearly won. He brought up the fact that my aunt got arrested for DUIs 2 times within the past 4 years. And said how her divorce ruined her, and that her husband cheated on her and had another kid with another family. It was just awful. And then I thought my dad was gonna pounce, and he was so loud, and my aunt was also just obnoxiously loud. And you can just see, even though we were in a private room, the private rooms had little gaps in between the walls, so you can pretty much see and pierce outside the room. And then I could just subtly see people turning heads, and couples watching us. And I'm like, Dad, stop it, Dad, stop. And then I remember I put my hand on top of my dad's mouth, and I literally got up and pressed him down, and I was like, Dad, please just stop, stop it, stop, stop talking, you're only making it worse. And my aunt kept on talking to me and saying, asking me why I lied, and I'm like, I didn't lie. And I just remember sitting there you don't know anything. You don't know anything about me. Like, if you knew everything about me, like, you know I wouldn't lie. And then my cousin's like, fuck this. And he left early before dessert. And remember, the dessert course came, and we got served our dessert. And I was so shook. I was so shook. And I remember, like, there was like a scoop of ice cream on top of the dessert, and I took the spoon, and literally my hands were trembling as every second I was scooping the ice cream and putting it in my mouth. And when the ice cream hit my mouth, oh my god, I felt like I was gonna throw it up. It was just like, there was so much, you could just feel the angst in my body trying to erupt. It was the most uncomfortable sensation ever, where my arms, my whole upper body, my like thighs were numb. That's when I knew, like, oh shit, how did I get in the middle of this? Like, how did I start all this shit? Like, I wasn't doing anything. All I wanted to do was see my fucking cousin. And we got the check, and my dad's pissed. Like, this was the worst fucking family dinner ever. The check was like, oh my god, like easily like $1,200 or something, because Thanksgiving is time where, you know, we do spend money to go to these really nice restaurants, because my dad really loves fine dining. And he was like, wow, like, this ruined my whole entire experience of fine dining. And he was like, well, why the fuck does grandma, our poor grandma, who had to sit through all that, have to pay for this meal? And so we all leave the restaurant. They probably wanted us out for so long. And my aunt's taxi comes, and before she can leave, I was just, at that point, I was just fuming. I wanted to punch her. Like, I wanted to, I never felt so much hatred for somebody. And so I walked up to her. I built up my courage, because I didn't want to be that frail little 15-year-old girl anymore. I like walked up to her and I said, you don't know what you're talking about. Don't accuse me. Don't accuse me at all for anything. Go check up on your fucked up son. And I walked away, and then I just hear her go, oh, effed up, she says? Oh my gosh, you know Wayne, which is my dad, you know Wayne, you should really watch your daughter's language. Some fucking snarky shit. And I was so, I was fuming. I never felt so much anger that I really wanted to just punch her, push her. I wanted to do any type of physical harm on my aunt, and I was kind of scared too for feeling that way, but it was true. And at that moment on, I knew that was the last ever family function I'm ever gonna have. And ever since then, the holidays haven't been the same. I dread Thanksgiving and Christmas, honestly. I hate it. And not only did I lose family members, because I haven't seen my cousin since that day. And my dad threatens me, like I threatens him every time. He says if he ever sees him, he will beat his ass for me. But I didn't want that to happen. I love my cousin, and the fact that because this shit happened, and he hasn't apologized to me since. And now I don't have a good relationship with my aunt, and every time I would see my aunt, which has only been twice since then, she would act like an immature 12-year-old and yell, "I" rhymes with lie, and just starts harassing me from that one night. And I lost family traditions. I lost the joy of holiday. I don't know, I feel like I just lost my innocence and I lost my youth. Like, I'm never going to have those Christmas mornings with all the family members. I remember running downstairs and being the first one up for Christmas morning, and me in my like red Christmassy pajamas, and my grandma will be sitting down at the bottom of the stairs because she also gets up early too, and like we would just wait around and I would dance in front of her until all the cousins and my sister, my dad, and my mom and my aunt would wake up, and we would just open presents. And after that we would eat Christmas lunch. And now at that moment I knew I was never going to have that. I was never going to relive that again. And yeah, I'm deathly afraid of family functions now. With any family gatherings, whether I'm invited to my friend's family party or whatnot, it just makes me sad that I can't have that anymore. Cause I'm already such a small family anyways. Like, I know now my family's even smaller. And I don't really rely on my family anymore. But yeah, I see my grandma less and less because of that, because my aunt keeps hogging her and seeing her. And I cannot be in the same house as my grandma. As my aunt. So yeah. That is how I lost an important memory of my childhood. I lost tradition. And I lost 2 family members.